Hello, everyone. How are you? Hope you're having an incredible day, and may peace be upon you. Welcome to the show. It takes courage with me, your host, Dr. Izdihar Jamil. And today I have such a special treat, a really fabulous guest, as award-winning singer-songwriter Drew Lawrence, who has worked with many top names, celebrity names in the industry, in the music industry. And today, Drew and I, we're going to be talking about channeling your inner singer songwriter and using your life stories and creating your song and creating your voice so that you can inspire others and express your creativity. So, Drew, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dr. Izdihar. Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you so much, Drew. And so, Drew, so talk about a little about your story and how you got started, because one of my favorite songs that you have written and produced is called "The Jaw of Hearts" with Christina Perry, and it's such a beautiful song. It's such a it's an expression of broken hearts, and then but it also kind of lifts you up in the beginning. So, how did you get started in this industry? Because I know one thing you mentioned, you said like, oh, like usually the singer songwriter, you guys are usually underground. So not many people know about you. The only people that, the artists are always the one up front, but the singer songwriter and the people, the producer, they're all kind of the underground. So how did you get started?
Well, my journey was a long journey, and my mission in life is to help people speed that journey up. But I started as a teenager in Seattle when I heard Pearl Jam on the radio, and I heard Eddie Vedder singing a song called Daughter, which was from the perspective of a young girl. And his vocals were so sincere and honest, and I just felt something inside of me, and the storytelling was so powerful. And I knew at that moment, I knew at 13, I wanted to be a singer-songwriter. I had no idea how to do it. And so I continued trying to write songs and trying my best to learn how to sing without any proper coaching for years and years and years. I went to music college. I went to Berklee College of Music, where I was very humbled and was a small fish in a big pond. I had a lot to learn. And when I graduated Berklee, I decided to come to Los Angeles. And at 22 years old, I didn't know anybody. I had no connections. So far, my path to becoming successful is I had no direction. I had nobody helping me. And I get to LA, and I spent another almost 8 years in Los Angeles just writing with anybody that would write with me, going to the open mics. And I tell this story so that people realize that when you have this dream and you don't know what to do, just lean in. Go to the place where it's happening. For music, it was Los Angeles, New York, or Nashville. Get into that community. Go to the community of events like open mics, for example, and start meeting people. And if you do it long enough and you work hard enough, all of a sudden you start building a network. And through my network, one of the producers I met through another friend happened to be working with this young artist. And as I said, I was taking every writing session possible. She was 23 years old. She was a waitress, and she was not signed to a record deal. That was Christina Perry. We wrote Jar of Hearts. She happened to have a friend that worked at the TV show So You Think You Can Dance, and they put it on the show, and the rest is history. So that's how I started. It was a long journey, and it was a lot of just showing up every day without really a clear direction.
Oh my God. It's just so interesting, Drew, because, people see where you are now. I get connected with you, pretty recently as well. People see where you are now, but they don't know all the hard work that you've put in, like 8 years since you were 13. I mean, you're only 20, right? So it's like 10 years ago. So,
Might have been a
so
couple other decades in between there.
yeah, but it's like people don't see that dream that you had when you were 12 and 13, and then the 8 years that you were just going everywhere and leaning into accessing the community wherever you can be, not knowing whether is it the day yet or has it happened yet. But you touch about something about the law of reciprocity. I can't even pronounce the word. But if you do something over and over, if you give more and more and more, there'll be a time when it comes back to you. The moment that, well, like, because people are like, I see now, Drew, a lot of people, they stop pretty early on
Mhm.
and not came forward. So what can you advice that you can give them? Because sometimes it took you 8 years. Some people are going to take a bit longer. Some people are going to take a little bit shorter. But what can you tell them in the sense that, and this goes across any areas, not to give up, but just keep moving forward, even though you can't see anything coming in yet?
Recognize the resistance, and I sure felt it all those years. These questions that come at you, like, what is this going to do for me? Why am I here? This isn't going to go anywhere. Replace those
Mm.
thoughts with, I'm getting my reps today. After I work today, I'm going to be one step closer to my dream. I'm going to have this much more experience. And so there's value in every experience. When I look back at all those, what I thought I was just kind of walking in the dark with no direction, I was actually getting prepared. I was getting all of the reps I needed so that when the opportunity struck, I would be prepared, I would be ready. So replacing resistance with realization that you're getting the practice and that you're moving the ball down the field, as they say, moving one step closer to your dream.
I like that, like replacing the resistance with, what was the word that you used? With reality or realization? Replacing resistance with realization?
Yeah, replacing the resistance with the realization of the value and the experience each day, that the value is pushing your dream further to its goal.
Yeah, and then by that time, when the opportunity comes, you've already had 8 years or probably 10 years more of practice, right? Of the singing, of the songwriting, like, you've already got that in the bank versus when the opportunity comes and you're like, oh, what do I do? How do I start? I don't know what to do. And then you may or may not lose that opportunity when you have that. That is just, I'm just mind blowing by the time that it took you to have, hopefully not 8 years, right? For the people that are listening to this show and the people that are working with you.
Mhm.
So now, like you said, like a year now, almost like a year now, where you started to come up from the woodwork. So what made you wanting to put yourself out forward now versus still, staying in the industry or not, be so much upfront? So what made you want to put yourself forward?
Well, when I think about the journey I had in the 8 years it took, I also think about Christina Perry, who is about
Mm,
8 years younger than I am, and the word is collaboration. And
mhm,
for Christina, she didn't have as much experience. In fact, she was not signed to a record deal. She had not ever played a live show. She had not written many songs. She was very young and new. But what she had was a powerful personal story, her experience of her breakup, and she had written about her experience, and she brought her powerful story to somebody who had more experience, and I was able to collaborate with her and help her realize the power of her story in the form of helping her write the song. And so that is such a joy to be able to share your experience with others. And so a year ago, when I decided to get out of I'm not out of the professional songwriting world. So I still work with lots of people from all walks of life, and I still work with people that are signed to record deals. But what was happening was I had a few people I was working with who didn't have any experience, and I saw them go from no experience to within a year releasing music professionally on Spotify. And I found it fascinating that people could come from relatively little experience to no experience, and that they could learn these talents, and that they could get the reps in. If they were hardworking and determined, they could achieve greatness. And if it happens once or twice, you might think, okay, well, that's cool. That they must have been born with talent, or they got lucky. But after you've seen it 10 times, I started to realize this is really something special, and I want to get this to more people. So it's really the people I work with that have inspired me. And after witnessing their accomplishments, it's inspired me to want to share with a larger audience the possibility and the potential that people have within them to discover their inner artist, their voice, and to put their life stories into songs they can share with others.
That is so fascinating that, like the Christina Perry, but she has her life stories, right? Like her personal power story that she brought into the song that she collaborated with you, and obviously with other people, regardless of her not having much experience or training at that point, and also ordinary people to just, have this dream or have this passion, but don't know what to do. But then when they start to put their focus on writing and becoming a singer or expressing themselves in a way, that they start to achieve greatness. And then you told me before, you've got people who are in the 20s and the 30s. You've got also people in their 40s, 50s, 60s, coming to you. Like, these are ordinary people, like, who hasn't got any singing background, or haven't who are not in the singing or creative industry, but they have something in them, and they put their focus on their effort, their hard work and determination, and then creating something, which is fascinating. And I'm also part of the process, because Drew is helping me to write my first song for a very special event. And I'm like, Drew, I didn't think I can do this. I have all this doubt and the thing. Now when I look at it, it's just this and that. So there's a lot of doubts, right, Drew? Like, when you're coming into, like, when people come to you, they have that fear, they have that doubt. So what is one of the first thing that you tell them, especially when this is not their field, they haven't sing on a mic before?
Well, I think what's most important is that they are aware that they're in a safe place. And here in my studio, it's a very safe place. So all ideas are good ideas. We don't shoot down any ideas. And I want people to be aware that it's okay in the beginning to not have all the answers. And it's okay to let yourself gradually learn the process. And so they don't have to be great singers the first day. I want people to understand the importance of getting the repetition. It really is all about repetition. And most importantly, there's a misconception in our society that, well, that's a waste of time. You'll never be successful. You'll never make it, is what I hear all the time. And I think this is a reason why a lot of the arts programs in our schools have budgets that are slashed. The arts are suppressed somewhat, and it's a belief that you won't be able to monetize it. And what I'm seeing is a different kind of value. I'm seeing people from all walks of life that are they're becoming inspired. They're lighting up with this excitement. And I work with a lot of the people I work with. They're very successful, but they're adding a new texture to their identity. So they might be a successful business owner, um, a successful mother or father, and spouse, and have all these accolades. And now they can add recording artist, songwriter, and singer to their identity. And so now they're identifying with even more richness. And I see that value as beyond monetary. And in terms of making it, we can all make it. We can all make the songs, and we can all make a great performance that makes a wonderful night for everybody watching. So I see just lots of potential and opportunity for people from all walks of life. So I want them to know that opportunity when they come in here, and I want them to know that it's okay to be patient and let that artist slowly come to the surface.
Brilliant. And like you said, like, it's important to have a safe space, right? Like it can be anything, like you don't have to have all the answers at the
Yeah.
moment. Like what you told me, like it's like a puzzle. You just got to figure out which pieces fit together at that point, and then we can layer it and add it. And sometimes we may need to add more words, sometimes we may need to slow it down a little bit. Like when I came to Drew with my song, like there's only 4 words that came into my mind. It's 4 words. There's a few other words like in between those words, but there's only 4 words that keep on coming in my mind, which was never stop, never pause. There's only those words, and then the rest are in between the words. And it's just so interesting. Like I've never written a song before, but Drew was able to kind of like coach me in the sense that, okay, we maybe this is the chorus, or maybe this is this, and maybe we can have this. So, and like for those of you who are like thinking you gotta have a whole song before you come to Drew or any other singer-songwriter, like you don't have to have all the answers. You can just come in with 4 words, or
Yeah.
no words at all, or maybe 1 word at one time. So Drew, let's touch base about a couple of tips when you want to start the singing, the songwriting process. And like you said, you don't have to have the perfect voice. What you've told me is that you just got to use the God-given voice that you have, and then reps, the muscle training of it as you go and develop it. So what are some of the tips that viewers can know as they start to build or explore the singing songwriting space?
Absolutely. Well, with singing, find the songs and the artists that you can sing along to where you feel comfortable, where it's not a lot of effort. Okay, there's so many different kinds of voices. In fact, there's nearly 8 billion different voices on the planet. Each one of us has our own unique, magnificent, one-of-a-kind instrument, right? So, and if you look at the successful singers of the past, you have a voice like Whitney Houston. Most of us can't sing like that. That was her God-given instrument, and it was amazing. But then you have a singer, for example, like Billie Eilish or Norah Jones, and they have a softer, much more accessible voice in terms of learning to sing in that range. So find where your voice is most comfortable, and you can do this just by listening to songs, singing along with songs, and find where you're most comfortable. And then, of course, finding a good vocal coach that will teach you the proper warm-ups, or taking a class to give you some guidance. But I think number one is finding your wheelhouse is a place where you can sing and it's comfortable. In terms of the writing, start thinking about your favorite songs, making a list of your favorite songs, so that you start seeing where your sound is. And by the list of your references, you're going to know what kind of a songwriter and what kind of an artist you lean towards. And probably most importantly, seeing the world through the lens of an artist. And I tell everybody I work with, to become a writer, to be more in touch with your creative side, put yourself first in the morning and take some time to be still and to be quiet and to listen to your thoughts and your feelings, because the artist is an observer and the artist is aware, and we have to take that time to be aware and to observe, and you'll be surprised. You'll start having things to write about if you just give yourself that silence and listen to the inspiration that's all around us. So those would be my tips for getting started.
Awesome. And talk about this, Drew, like, the expression, the creative side of you, and then the business side of you, or the logic side of you. Do you see it complementing one another, or do you see it as part of a separate? Do you see one is helping one another or not? Because, like in school, it's always like math, science, English, like all the core subjects. And then art is just, once a week kind of thing for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, or singing or whatever that is. So it's kind of like being put as a secondary or tertiary part of the curriculum. Even now, I'm not that so like creativity. I'm like, I can't paint, I can't even sing. So do you see, like, once you start to develop your inner artist or the creative side of you, do you see it kind of like contributing or enhancing the other areas of your life?
Yeah, some of the latest science is actually suggesting that we can grow our brain, we can grow brain cells in the right hemisphere through action. And so it's when there's the motivation that meets intense practice, we can develop all sorts of talents. So this old myth that people are just born with gifts is starting to be replaced by the thought that we can actually build this portion of the brain through that intense practice and that repetition. And when the right hemisphere of the brain is getting that kind of attention and that kind of exercise, then the whole brain, the whole mind is now functioning at a higher level. So I liken it to going down the road. If your brain's on one tire's a little flat, you're going down the road like this. If you're exercising the creative hemisphere of your brain, well, boom, now all of a sudden. So I truly believe that we function at a higher level when both sides of our brain are getting attention. I like the word nurture, even better, nurturing the right hemisphere of the brain, and that it affects the whole mind, the whole body, the whole soul. And that when that side of the brain is getting nurtured with attention, then more creativity and inspiration can be available for the business side as well, and for the family side, for all the other activities we're doing in life. I truly believe that we'll just have an overall higher functioning experience by taking care of both sides of the mind.
Yeah, I think also, like, when you're trying to solve problems, you got to be creative, right?
Yeah.
Like, where does that creative part of you comes from? It comes from meditation. It comes from expressing yourself with arts, with singing, with baking. I like to bake. One of the things I like to bake because I like to eat the food. So I bake, and and cooking as well. I see it as a creative side because now, because I've done it so many times, I can just open the fridge. All right, we're gonna eat today. Okay, there's this, there's that, there's that. Oh, we'll just make this thing. So if you ask me for a recipe, I'd be like, I don't know. It's just like whatever, I want to put in, and then channeling that creativity. But I do agree in the sense that once you kind of like create that creative side or nurture it, like you were saying, Drew, it kind of like releases something. It releases the stress, or it releases a part of you. You're able to, at least for me, I'm able to see better. It makes me happier. It makes me, feel chill, makes me excited. And I get to think of the solution that, oh, maybe we'll do it this way or that way or this, or just having fun with the kids, right? With your jumping around and wiggling about, doing that. And another thing I wanted to touch base with you, Drew. I know you mentioned that when you had your royalty, was it your first royalty or something? that it wasn't even enough to cover the dinner for you and your wife. So I want you to talk about um, what made you kind of like still moving forward, because there's a lot of mindset that the creative world isn't, you're not going to be making money from the creative world. So I want you to talk through like the process that kind of like not having to pay for the dinner for you and your wife. It was like $23 or something like that. It's not enough to even like the dish and the tip and everything. And how did you kind of like the steps that you took to be steadfast with where, I mean, for all we know, you could be an investment banker by now, Drew.
Yeah, my first royalty check. So this was about 3 years before Jar of Hearts, and this was another artist I worked with, and the song was on a CD, and it was for sale at Best Buy. I remember going to the store and seeing there's a song I wrote right there on a rack in Best Buy. I've made it. Wow, this is so exciting. And yes, the royalty check arrives, 6 months later, and it's like $20. And so, yeah, and then my bigger success came 3 years later. But there was such a joy in seeing a validation of my work, and that was getting a taste of that really inspired me to keep moving. But other than that, I've known the joy I get from writing songs and singing my whole life, and it wasn't necessarily that I needed to monetize it, but I just experienced there was a different value. I just experienced so much joy from it. And back to what we were talking about a moment ago with the creativity and singing. Singing also has been proven to release dopamine and oxytocin in the brain, so it makes us happier. And I've known that I'm always happiest when I am creating. So yes, it was a long haul before the real monetization came into effect, but I was enjoying the journey. So I guess the most important thing is really making sure you're enjoying the work you're doing. And if you love what you do and you work at it hard enough, I really believe the community grows, and the people that you come across will help you with ideas to help monetize it.
Yeah, and then you touch a point where, like you have a different value, right? Your value wasn't that $20 that you received. Yes, you made it. You went to Best Buy, you saw the CD. Yes, right? Kind of having that. But the value that you were focused on, or what's important to you, wasn't so much of the monetary, but it's the joy, like you were saying, the experience that you had,
Mhm.
and the happiness probably that you've experienced when you were in that creative zone. And I think this is important, Drew, to people to understand what is the value that's most important to you. Like my biggest value is freedom. So freedom is like key in everything that I do. And Drew, there's times that when you work so hard and for such a long time, you get very little, right? But then, like the reward, you would always be rewarded for your hard work. You would always be. It's just the time when you're going to be rewarded. Do you want it bad enough that you're willing to overcome all this and be steadfast in what you play for? And the other thing I wanted to touch base with you, because you collaborate with various different kinds of people, from celebrities to everyday people. I want to like kind of like pick your brain a little bit on how do you choose the right people that you want to collaborate with, because there are people who may not be like playing in the same standard as yours, or then sometimes they are not good people. There's sometimes that people who don't deliver on their promises, or and there's some people who are really good. So how do you choose the right people to collaborate with you? Because your energy, your expertise, they're expensive and they're precious. You want to make sure that the power that you have is going for the good. So what are your criteria in choosing when you want to collaborate with people?
That's a great question. In this particular business, in the early days, you really have to kind of take what you can get. So you do end up working with most everybody in the early days when you're first starting. And it's, once again, the value though in those early days is really getting the experience and the reps. However, as you progress, it's very important, and I've learned this lesson the hard way, and I'm still learning this lesson, but success is really based on what we say no to. And it's learning how to say no when the opportunity doesn't feel aligned with your core values, or even the direction you want to go creatively. So I personally nowadays, I only want to work with people that are creating because they want to express themselves. They want to tell their personal stories so that these stories can help others. So I am I'm not interested in just writing a song for the sake of writing a song. I really want the songs to mean something. And so those are the people I'm looking to work with, the people that really want to say something sincerely, that's powerful, that can help others. And as I mentioned, it's a tough process learning how to say no. But if I could have learned that lesson younger, that would have been great.
Oh my God, it's so hard to say no. It really is hard to say no. And even though I find that sometimes I knew that it's a no, but I try to manipulate or navigate through things so that, maybe it's a yes on this angle, or maybe if I go it this way, it's a yes on this angle. And usually it doesn't work out that well when two people are not fully aligned with one another. And it doesn't mean that they're bad people or anything. It just means that we're not a good fit. Like for example, like when I go for my TED Talks that I gave like in 2021, my best friend was like, I only have one shoe and it was red. Okay. And my best friend was like, you need to go and get another shoe because the red isn't going to go with the blue. I'm like, I don't care. People are not going to look at my feet. She's like, no, you have to go to get another shoe. And I don't like shopping because it stresses me out because there's so many options and I
Right.
get stressed out. Okay. So I'm like, okay, that shoe, that shoe, that shoe. And finally, it is this one. And it doesn't mean that the other shoes wouldn't grade or pretty or, looks fantastic. They all are. It's just this one fits me the most at this time. So I think like we gotta think about it that way, like which one fits at the same time. And I still have that shoe, I still wear it. But the hardest thing is the success is when you say what you say no to, as
Right.
much as what you say yes to, but it's what you say no to. And no is to say no, it's hard because you don't want to let people down. You don't want people to think you're a bad person. You don't want people to think you're snobbish, like all those things. But it's it's not the easiest art to say no to, right, Drew?
Absolutely. That's right.
Okay. So, one final thing that I wanted to, kind of ask you as well. You have worked with a lot of artists, well-known artists. What are some of the backstage, behind the scene secrets that you can let us know in terms of whether they're success? One of the things that you talked about was using your own personal story to kind of like express yourself and inspire others. Like one of the famous singer, Taylor Swift, we know her of using a lot of her
Oh yeah.
personal stories. That is, what do you call it, hit? What is it, a hit? Like she won like 6 Grammys. Basically it's a hit song. So what are the backstage Hollywood secrets that you can share with us that people don't know about?
I think the most important is to just be yourself. So tell your story and don't try to be anybody else. Just be authentic. And I think those are the best artists. The artists that have the most longevity, if you will, the artists that have a cult following because people just can't get enough of them. well, they're the artists like Taylor Swift and like Pink. They're just being themselves, and they're being honest, and they're being bold, fearless, not afraid to fail, not afraid to sound crappy or go for a note that they barely can hit. I mean, it's really just being fearless, bold, honest, authentic. That's the only secret, and working really hard. That's it. We're working really hard. I think that there's a misconception that rock stars just sit around and play video games and eat junk food. Yeah, these people are hard working. Here's a secret too: when you're hearing an album from one of your favorite artists, there's a good chance that there were 200 songs written and only 10 of them made the album. And out of those 200 songs, there might have been over 100 different songwriting groups that worked on the album. So you could be looking at somewhere around 300 to 400 people that were involved in trying to make those 10 songs on that album. And it's fierce, the competition and the amount of work that goes in to just even one song. There's a big team behind the scenes that's working tirelessly to get these songs and these albums created.
100%, and that doesn't count the amount of hours that has been invested into a song, right? Let alone the whole album. Like, a song could potentially take between 5 hours, 10 hours, 30 hours just for a song alone. From the writing, from the co-creation, from the music that gets in, from the repetition, and then add on 10 another 10 song, or how many there is in an album. So it
Mhm.
could take off hundreds, maybe not thousands of hours just for a song alone. And when you talk about hard work, Drew, and something that I remembered from watching Taylor Swift's interview, when they asked her a question, and she says, what people don't know about me is that I'm imaginative, I'm creative, and I'm hardworking. And that's not typically what Hollywood sees, which is, and it is hard, hard work to write a song, to produce the whole thing, even for, I know, Drew, you're in a band, the Dales. And obviously, you guys don't just go and like perform, right? You have practice sessions before you go into the live performances. The same with any other artist. Um, that's the practice. Even well, Drew is going to be speaking at TEDxHuntington Beach, and even now he's like, "All right, I've started to write it. I've started to practice. Like, hopefully, it's on the 23rd of September. So it starts now, right? The practice behind the scenes."
Practice starts now, and then I think that one of the best tips is to never settle. A lot of
Mm.
the songs you hear have been rewritten, they've been reproduced, they've been re-recorded. That might be the 50th time that singer sang that song. So you never settle until you're absolutely happy with it. There's no rush, and I think that's really an important lesson to learn. Never put a final stamp of approval on something that you don't feel is there yet. Be patient and keep working at it until it's right.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Drew, for the conversation today. And I want to wrap it up with a couple of rapid fire questions, something fun that the viewers want to know about you, what I want to know about you. So let's start off with, what's your favorite food?
My favorite food, pollo mole, Mexican dish.
What is that? Toyo mole? Is that, what kind of dish is that?
And it's ironic because I don't even eat chicken anymore, but it's a mole is a dish that is like 26 different spices, and it's a Mexican dish. I absolutely love it. And in fact, it even has a little bit of chocolate in it. And people either love it or they hate it, and I love it.
Oh my God, Toyo mole, that is so cool. I didn't know that about you. So what, because you don't eat chicken anymore, what do you substitute it with, tofu or something
Yeah,
else,
you
or
can
vegetables?
Yeah, you can do it with tofu or vegetables or even just the beans and rice. It's really about the sauce. But yeah,
Ah,
yeah.
brilliant. Okay. So, what's the favorite restaurant that you and your wife and the whole family likes to go to?
Oh, our favorite restaurant. Um, we love to go to the beach, and we like to eat at Paradise Cove in Malibu, which is right on the water, and you sit in the sand under thatched roof umbrellas, and it's like being on vacation. And it's only 25 minutes over the mountain from us, so that's our favorite spot.
That's so beautiful. You know, the beach and then the sand and then good food. What else do you want, right?
Right.
That's a perfect combo. So what's the favorite thing that your girl, so Drew has two dogs, he calls them the girls. What's the favorite thing that your girls love to do when you take them hiking?
Oh, the ladies. Well, their favorite thing to do is to be, let off the leash where they can run around and smell every possible thing there is to smell, and they're just they couldn't be happier to be out in nature.
Oh, they look so happy, they couldn't wait to smell all the flowers or the grass, to run around when I saw that video of Drew
Other other dogs
walking for.
walking by, other dogs walking by, they have to smell them too.
Yeah, that's right, smell them too. Okay, so what's the first thing that you do in the morning?
I meditate in the morning. First thing, I get up and I meditate, and I take about a half an hour every morning to reset, clear the mind, and focus on what I want to achieve that day.
Okay, and meditate. Beautiful. That's how I start my day as well, with prayer
Yeah.
and reading the Quran. I think it's this spirituality, right? Like something about starting your day with something spiritual that just settles everything, and knowing, like, God, just help me take care of this. you know, show me, show me the signs. What is the one thing that you said that you're not going to do? I know one of the things you said, not taking the trash out anymore.
Yeah. Boy, I had a lot of things I'm not going to do, but I'm working on not working on weekends. That's one thing
Yay,
I
yay!
like to do. Yeah.
But at the moment, you still do, right? Just because you have prior commitments to your weekends. But I think you said there was the time, was it Saturday afternoon until Sunday afternoon? That was when it was your me time, or something that you started off with that. Are you practicing that at the moment?
I am, yeah. I had a group class that was on Sunday afternoon, so I couldn't really stop doing that because made a commitment, and I truly loved teaching the group class. We had our last class this Sunday; it was phenomenal. And then I also have some young artists that are still in high school. I have a couple of young artists I'm developing, and they really the only time they can come see me is on a Saturday morning, and so I don't want to be unavailable for them. So I'm working at setting boundaries, but sometimes there's some important things that I have to figure out to fit in there. But yes, no weekends for work. That's what I'm working on.
Yay. And also, like, starting with something, right? Just at least for a few hours or a set time frame, just, starting with that, and then grow as you develop that. Again, like we talked about earlier, it's hard to say no, especially when something is important, or someone, you see someone so passionate about things. It's just hard to say no at that time. And I feel in that moment, you just have to give a call of judgment, based on your gut instinct, based on what works for you. And boundaries are good. It's meant to take care of you, but sometimes you also can use your higher intelligence to figuring out if you want to let people inside your boundaries. Good people, right, Drew? We only want good people.
Really good people.
Yeah, good people. Okay, fantastic. All right then. So, Drew, last question of the day. I know we can talk whole day. I was like, oh, Drew, it's gonna be 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and now we've got a little bit more. So Drew, let's fill in this with one word. Writing your song is fill in the blank with one word.
Writing your song is cathartic.
I wasn't expecting cathartic. I was expecting to be fun and sexy and joy. Cathartic. And what does cathartic means to you?
It is nurturing the soul. It's soothing the soul. It's releasing tension and stress. It's healing. That's what cathartic means to me.
Beautiful, the healing and releasing. And Drew, at the moment, I know your class for singer songwriting class has ended. So, what is the best way for people to reach out to you? And are you going to be opening up the next session anytime soon?
I am going to be doing another class, and the best way to reach out to me is on social media. You can direct message me on Instagram at Drew Lawrence Songs or on Facebook at Drew Lawrence, and all of the information about the classes will be there. The group class was one of the most rewarding experiences of my life. It's been so amazing to get to more people at once. Everybody finished a song with me through the group class, and everybody's singing, and it was really, really an awesome experience. So I look forward to doing a lot more of these classes in the future.
Wonderful. So get in touch with Drew on social media. Drew Lawrence is in Facebook and also on Instagram. And Drew, again, thank you so much for joining me today. And thank you for sharing so many valuable tips, not only, just valuable, but also practical. Something that, straight to the point, and I really appreciate it. And then I hope the viewers are appreciative as well. So, Drew, thank you so much for joining us, and for the rest of you, until the next episode. This is your host, Dr. Izdihar Jamil, and remember, be brave in sharing your voice so that you can be seen, heard, and chosen as the go-to expert in your field. All right, Drew, let's say bye to everybody.
Well, bye,
Bye.
everybody. Thank you for having me.